more than 3 million people who are going to the ballot today to make one of democracy's most consequential choices. Who governs the state for the next 4 years? The decision is in the hands of the voters, and that they will exercise today. On the register are 2.339233 voters. An electorate that has grown by roughly 66% since 2014, and about 1.9 million people, 81.5% of registered voters have collected their PVCs. But here is a question today hanging over the election. Will they come out? That is a big question, and we are out right here early as 6 a.m. My colleagues and I are on the field trying to find out for you what exactly this election holds. Well, will they come out? That's a big question, because while the voters register has expanded dramatically, participation has been moving in the opposite direction. Governorship turnout fell from about 53% in 2014 to 42% in 2022, when more than 1.1 million registered voters did not vote in that election. And this is an electorate with a striking profile. Students alone account for 752,800 voters, almost 1 in every 3 people on the register. But take a look at it. The numbers tell only part of the story this morning. This is an election being conducted under extraordinary pressure. There's a mounting pressure of violence, they're saying, and pressure on INEC whether they will be able to deliver this election, where Yaga Africa and with the INEC data have identified 13 electoral hotspots, while Impact Electoral Pressure Index places 1.194202 voters, 51.1% of the electorate in 13 high or critical pressure LGAs. It's going to be a very critical one, isn't it? This is the last off-cycle election just before the general elections, and we're going to be taking you through the day in what is happening around the polling units, and not that alone, of course, around the areas that are bordering the state, because you know, the state is bordered about 4 states in the southwest and the north central part of Nigeria. But let me introduce those who are keeping guard and keeping vigil with us. I'm being joined by a member of the Yaga Africa board, and is also the executive director of PACAC, is Mr. Ezenwa Nwagu, is an electoral and democracy advocate. Thank you so much, Ezenwa, for joining us.
So great.
It's good to have you back.
This is our 4th time here.
Absolutely, 4th time.
This very
place.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ezenwa.
Thank you.
And I also have the executive director of Impact Initiative, Mr. Bukola Idowu. Thank you so much, Mr. Idowu.
Thank you very much. Good to be here again.
Thank you so much indeed.
Yeah.
Let's begin the analysis. And what makes this very interesting for us here at Channels Television is that viewers who are at home, whether you're in diaspora or you're in any part of Nigeria, you don't need to bother, because we are right here on the ground as the drone is giving us the shot overhead, so you can see what is going on the ground. We can also tell you what is going on in our background. In the last hour or so, we're seeing a heavy deployment right here. This is Iraq Center right here in Alekuwodo, in the Salvation Army School, where we're seeing deployment of some of the officials, and this has about 2 or so polling units. But Ezenwa, since you arrived about 40 minutes ago, what have you noticed?
Well, it tells you how logistically what may happen. It gives you a peep into what may happen logistically. Like we said, this is the RAC Center, and this is just a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and we have seen that quite a lot of the folks who will be doing this work are already out there. They've moved out to their different polling units. Just a few of them who will be handling the polling units in this place are around. If the morning is good, we hope that's what the evening will look like as well.
Yeah. Bukola, what do you make of the expectations, especially the NYC, the core members who are doing their mandatory 1-year youth core service to the nation, and they are the ones that are going to keep charge of this election?
I mean, this is amazing. Of course, with what I have seen now, you see them already here on time, and then you can see that they are moving into their polling units now, which is and all of them fully ready. In fact, before coming here, I have to pass through another rack center, which I also saw the same. The same preparation and then the readiness of the core members. So I understand they've been trained. I understand they've been here since day before yesterday. So what it means is that it looks like they are fully prepared for this election, and also in terms of the logistics that we have seen, you can see they are fully ready, even ready to board the vehicle to their various polling units. This is, of course, encouraging.
Very interesting what we are saying. But look, I like us to look at the scenario, which is I'm not going to take you away from the scene because I know you want to see what is going on. And if one of the cameras can just give us vivid situation of what is going on in the background, because just in our background, you will see them with the materials, and we are just about an hour away from the opening of the ballot, and this is very crucial. This process is important. Whether INEC could be successful, this is the fundamental part of what makes INEC successful in the opening of the ballot. They say they got everything tidy. They told us yesterday on China's television that they printed the ballot papers right here in Nigeria, as against the rhetorics and the narrative that it was printed outside of Nigeria. They've followed the tradition of in the last few years of printing the ballot papers right here. The sensitive materials. But if anything is going to happen significantly, whether INEC is going to get it right in the opening of the ballot, this is how we get to know, isn't it?
The activation of the rack center gives you a good sense of what will happen logistically. But beyond that is also the fact that by the time we came, this place was a bit crowded, but as at now it's a bit people have moved out, but setting up and making sure that the security agencies also support these early deployments, because it's an interplay of different stakeholders working together to make sure that the punctuality index for the opening of the polls is as good as we expect. But it's all beautiful, great weather from what we are seeing this morning, because this is rainy season. We are not encumbered by that challenge right now, and I hope we have a very good election in Osun State.
Bukola, what can you tell us about what he is saying? You can see them, they're gradually getting ready. These young men and women who are serving our nation, yet will put their service to task. They will put their service to test. How ready they are to defend our nation in one of the most critical aspects of our democracy, elections.
I think with what I have seen, very, very encouraging, and with what they are doing. But at the same time, one good thing you need to also look at it, that we should not just separate them as core member alone. We should also separate them. We should also classify them as young people. And this talks about the impact and the contribution of the young people to our democracy. Most times you say people actually look at, young people are not participating. This is also part of participation. This is also what they are contributing. Now, when you look at over 3,000,
look at her there. She's trying to tidy up.
Naturally, this is not supposed to be a job.
This is not a job.
It's not a job.
Trying to clean up.
That tells you that citizenship spirit. That tells you that dedication that we have seen, and that tells you that look, the contribution of the young people is also great when you come to our democratic.
This has something to do with her upbringing.
Absolutely,
it's much more her upbringing now. Coming in an environment and finding it untidy and doing something about it, and that's that spirit that we talk about, that spirit of young people, the ones who will not just step over, who will do something. But more importantly is that the rhetoric about this election, you will have thought that nobody, these presiding officers, these core members will not show up. It will not show up. They are showing up is thumbs up for the resilient spirit of the Nigerian young person, and I think we need to encourage this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking at them, they're getting ready. It's just about an hour before the opening of the ballot. But look, they say how successful the day will be is in the rising of the sun.
Yeah, the money
And
tells the day,
money tells
actually.
the day. So you look at these young people, and on the other side of this place, you will see voters critically trying to get themselves ready. They're checking for their names, and they're checking for their records, because that matters a lot. If your name is not in this polling unit or in this area, you cannot be part of it, because that is the very first thing you do as a voter. Because our viewers need to understand the processes that lead up to you being able to cast a ballot, isn't it?
Channels has been in the forefront of voter education in very clear terms. Let's look at that now. You have to come, find out that your name is in this very polling center. If your name is not here, you can't approach the presiding officers, and then you can't cast your vote here. So early, those who have come out early, is about passion, is about interest. And many times we are uncharitable to our people when we say, oh, they are not interested in democracy. You talked about, when in your opener, you talked about collection of PVCs, 1.9 registered voters. That's significant, that's huge, and that is what Bukola called participation. Because many times we say, oh, people are no longer participating. This is evidence that people are interested in this democracy and they want it to work.
Absolutely. But one thing is very critical. Let's take you through some of the figures that are very, very important. And I will go to the issues of violence, which is a major thing. Leading up to this election, I'm not sure in the last few years we've seen so much of violence that have come into an election. It tells you how critically and how intensely this election is being contested for. Well, let's look at it. The figures are very staggering. We've seen an increase in PVC collection. That's very encouraging. That is almost 100% in Ekiti. It's about 81% here in Osun State. But look at it. History tells us Osun can be extraordinarily close. The winning margin was more than 101,000 votes in 2014. Just 482 votes in 2018. 28,344 votes in 2022. Those are the margins in all of the in each of the election year that determine who won the election. That tells you that if 482 votes can determine who won the election, it tells you that every vote is of essence in this election. So today, every polling unit will matter, every vote will matter, and perhaps most importantly, the integrity of every step of the process will also matter. If you look at what we're saying, 30 local government areas, 332 wards, 3,763 polling units. These are the figures we are looking at, and it's a population of over 3 million people, 2.339233 voters. Bukola, make sense of these figures for us.
Fantastic figure, and I think we need to first of all look at the number of that PVC collected. Now, 81% actually, when you look at that, is actually not a bad number. Though it might be a bit lower compared to what you have in Ekiti, that you have 97%, but you have 81% here now, and that talks about a whole lot of things. But again, that number also did not include downloadable PVC, because when you have to look, INEC have not released that number of people that downloaded their PVC, and then they will be able to use it, because the national chairman also talked about, look, they are going to use downloadable PVC. The REC have also emphasized it for those people who have gone through that process to download their PVC. It will be interesting to add that number to this to see what we have. Again, you also have to look at in terms of participation that you mentioned. Osun State election has always been very, very competitive. For instance, when you look at that figure of 2014, where you have 100,000 margin of lead, I think 101,000 margin of lead. You compare that with what we have been having in Ekiti. For instance, in 2014 in Ekiti, there are about, I think 2014, where a governor had like about 16, won the entire 16 local government. now, which it was 60-0, and I don't think that has ever happened in Osun where someone we had 30-0, and so it has always been a competitive election. Then you move into 2018, the margin of lead was less than 500. So then you come to 2018, which you mentioned. 2022, which is like about 28,000. So which means Osun election has always been very competitive. Then leading up to this election, you have also seen how competitive in terms of campaign, in terms of mobilization, this has been. So in this election, if we have to really ask ourselves, one thing I think we happen in this election is that every vote will matter, every vote can make a difference, and I also see that the polling agents are going to be very, very alert because they are going into a competitive election.
Absolutely. What does those figures tell you, those numbers? Because increasing number in the terms of people on the ballot, but participation is very key, isn't it?
Yeah, so there are, like we know, there are many reasons why people will come out to vote. What do they think about governance generally? That is an indication that hits at the heart of why people vote. Is government responsible to the citizens in a way that they want to reciprocate that responsibility? That's key. But what we are not paying attention to is the resource component of what has happened in Osun State. Osun State has become one of the hubs for mining, mineral resources, and these are very important mineral resources. So the context is not just about now what comes from the federal, it is also about who controls the resources of the state. So that has made it more competitive. The political economy of this election is much more attractive now to politicians. If you control this state, you control its mineral resources, you control IGR, you control. So it wasn't like that before. It wasn't the significant play that mineral resources is playing in the state now was not what it used to be in time past. So these numbers is also about how the people themselves feel about their own responsibility in this that is at stake right now. So I am thinking that we will see more push because everyone is out, the opposition, the position, and you know that the significant thing about this now is that the government here is in position, but it's opposition outside of it. So the interplay of all of this is what's going to make this election very interesting.
But your expectations, Bukola, for this election, if you compare from Ekiti, what the figures are telling us, the number of PVC collected and the turnout of voters, make sense of the numbers for me. Were you excited, or does it give you some sense of hope that there will be, if we saw an increasing number on the register compared to the people who turn up to the election? If you look at Osun, if you want to, do the permutation, does it excite you to see whether or not people are going to come out? If you use Ekiti's figures to be able to extrapolate.
So, judging with that Ekiti figure, I think Osun people will come out because let's go back. Ekiti State, if you look at their turnout from 2014, because they have the same election year, 2014, 2018, 2022, I don't think Ekiti State, in fact, Ekiti State have not surpassed 45% when you look at it, in terms of turnout. In fact, the last one is not even up to 35% or thereabout, or no, I think it's like 36. Now, what it means is that if you look at 2014 in the Osun State, that was 53% turnout. Then in 2018, they have like about 45%. Then in 2022, they have 42% turnout. So what it means and what the data is saying in Ekiti Osun is that, look, Ekiti may have higher PVC collection but lower voter turnout. Now, you also have Osun that consistently for the 3 elections have not gone below 40%. So what it means again is that it's possible, and which I think, and this is my expectation, that you are likely going to have close to that 40% turnout here in this election. and I think is one election that the citizens also want to participate. The politicians are also mobilizing, and just because of one of the reasons is because of what he said. In the past, you may not even be interested. Allocation are small. There is no mineral resources. You don't even control it. Now they have increased allocation. Then there are mineral resources that can also generate more ideas for you to work with. So what it means is that they are also mobilizing, and at the same time, I don't want us to believe that the politicians are not mobilizing or want to buy votes. No, they also know that the number matters, because the limit at which you can influence processes is limited. So they also need that number. So I think the mobilization and what the participation we are likely going to see here, I am not expecting that it will be less than 40%. Looking at the
is there an homonyless syndrome in what you are saying? Because the excitement with which you are talking about, what AKT population, local government 16, here 30. And so these comparisons, we need to be nuanced about it in a way that guarantees the fact that we are conscious of, the play. The dynamics of Ekiti is also completely different from what is playing here, and I think that much more than any other thing, the mobilization will have to be centered on what you just cut off from. Now there is bigger interest in why people have to, especially the politicians. They are not.
Sorry, Ezewa,
yes.
I want our viewers to see what is going on, because these election ad hoc officials, they are playing several roles. At some point they're looking like architects. At some point they're looking like bricklayers. At some point they are looking like they play a lot of roles. But see, they're trying to mark out, they're trying to map out, they're trying to disaggregate, and they're trying to clean up at the same time. And you see the coordinators trying to make things happen, and you see the manner in which they're trying to get their environment set up. That was the same lady. It does look like this lady is should be made the commissioner for environment, because she's just particular about cleaning up the place before getting work started. And you can see from up close there how they're getting things ready. Observers are all over this place. This is a major, like we said, this is our fourth time in a fourth election cycle. They were covering elections right here at the Salvation Army School in Alekuwodo. Alekuwodo is a densely populated area in Osogbo, and take it with you. This information, very important. Osogbo is going to be a battleground. The top contenders, about the 3 top contenders in this race, are from Osun West. And you know what that means. A lot of them are going to battle from areas that are outside of Osun West. They're going to go for Central, and they're going to go for East. In those territorial districts, you have 10 local governments evenly distributed across the 3 senatorial districts. But one thing that is very critical, you look at Irekpodu, Olorunda, Osogbo. These are heavy local government areas that have over 100,000 registered voters. If anybody is ready to win this election, have their eyes there.
They're not.
It's in Osun West,
but the figures
are very. The 2 headers, and you look at also the 4 Ifes, and you look at Ilesha, you look at Olorunda, you look at the Irekpodu. Osogbo is the father of them all, has the biggest figure. But in all of this is typically what you find there, Bukola.
But are you not looking at cosmopolitanism and what it does to participation? Because when you talk about Osogbo is not you have play of different communities in Osogbo who may not feel that real stake, as it were. So many times in Ado-Ekiti, for instance, you saw that even when they had high number, turnout was a bit significantly low. So when we play this, what is important is the kind of mobilization that the politicians, having good number does not guarantee you in registration, does not guarantee. It's the kind of investment in mobilization that takes place that gives you. And what we have is a majoritarian situation. If you have the highest number of votes, pick it from wherever you can pick it, and then make sure that you have the 25% into thoughts of the local governments. You are good to go.
Absolutely. Look at it now. This is another stage that we have entered into. It does look like the ballot box will be just beside them over there, and the voters are going to come from this way. I imagine that they were going to use the shield of the building because of the weather, because it's looking like it might rain, and I probably will check what the weather.
The weather forecast actually predicted rain around 11 and a bit of in the evening.
So if I were them,
we
I'll
hope
probably relocate the sitting area behind where they can be shielded, and the materials can also not get wet. But this is in their own wisdom. This is our best they think this should
with the expectation that there won't be rain.
There won't be rain. But they needed to have checked the weather just like you did. But if you look at the manner in which we're seeing the setting up, it is an open secret ballot system. That is what our laws, that is what our electoral culture, that is what our system allows for. And that is what we're going to be saying. Because these we guard against vote by. I know that politicians have their ways around, and everyone is smiling. It's supposed to guard against vote by. When we see you go into the cubicle, thumbprint and vote on the ballot, but it does look like you have another idea. You think that vote buying is going to happen?
Well, the disingenuous nature of our politicians manifests in the way they always subvert processes. They are no longer coming to look at the polling cubicles. They are doing accreditation right now. They accredit people just like the presiding officers are accrediting. You come somewhere else, accredit, and then when you vote, you come back to where you are going to. So the collection points are no longer within where, at least you saw that in Ekiti. You didn't see anybody around the polling unit. But all this is about is the secrecy of the ballot, the sanctity, the sacredness of that ballot. And once you take it away, it's no longer democracy. The very idea that I can go into that place and take a decision by myself, irrespective of whatever, is what these young people are trying to guarantee right there.
I'm very certain that they have about 1,000 more voters in this, because if you look at the delineation that has been done, the minimum or the standard is about between 800 and 1,000 voters, and from history, this is usually heavy attendance that we see. This is a school, although there's a lot of grass. I know the students need to have gone through some discipline to have cut the grass, but it seems that the grass is going faster than they can handle. But I mean, looking at what it looks like, it's taking them more time to be able to determine what exactly and how they will position their station.
The first thing, because you also need to understand that, is that in this particular polling unit now we are expecting 2 beavers machine, because the cutoff for 1 beavers for INEC is 750. They have more than 800 voters here, so we expect 2 beavers machine to function here. And at the same time, I am not actually worried, because they still have a bit of time. The voting is supposed to start at 8:30, but I know they will be able to meet up, because almost you can see the ballot, the polling booth already put in place. You can also see over there that the ballot box is also being tagged there, and then we hope that any moment from now they will be ready to address the voters. But the most important thing here is, like we said, is always a place where you have more people coming. Now, when you look at this area around, this is one of the closest polling unit to this cosmopolitan area that people can actually walk into and then have votes. So another thing we are going to see here today is, of course, I expect that in this particular polling unit, we are likely going to have more polling agents to be here than you are likely going to see in most of those interior. But like you rightly said, Osogbo is in the center, and Osogbo have the highest number of registered voters. So we see that look, all eyes are on Osogbo because they don't even have. The Central, for instance, don't have a contender in this day. So we, of course, you rightly put it. Osun Central, Osun East are likely going to be where most of the politicians we want to see, like, they are able to take substantive votes from that particular place. I also think that because when you look at the three major contestants, one of the things you find out is that all of them will share that Osun West because they are very popular in their district and they are likely going to share it. Yeah. Then all of them are now coming to the Central and the East to take things. But again, what dynamics that the data is telling us about this is that, look, when you look at Osun Central, they may have the number, but in terms of average polling units per ward, you have it more in Osun East, Ilesha, Ife, all the four Ife. So you have more average polling unit per ward in Osun East, and then you have registered voter also in Osun Central. So it's going to be an interesting, and I think, like what he said, don't let us deceive ourselves that you are looking for people buying votes all around here now. You see, I can tell you that the politicians have gone beyond that. I can tell you they have even done their calculation. They know what they have done. The M&E at which they put into, the monitoring and evaluation they put into this thing shows that you can actually go and vote and they know, this is what they are likely going to have. They have done the graph. They have an average of what they are likely going to have. So they are only maybe they would be relying on some of the undecided voter that will come to the polling unit. But it's going to be an interesting election today, and also we just hope that it also is going to be a peaceful election.
Yeah. So there are more women registered for this election than men. Compared to what we had in Ekiti. Ekiti has more men in terms of on the register. For this election, you have 52.79% women, and you have 47.21% who are women. But largely, students make up about 30% of the registered voters. What does that figure tell you, Izewa?
That also will impact turnout because most of the students who registered may have left Osun by now. Some of them, their parents may have pulled them back. So most of the students may not necessarily be indigenous. So that will impact turnout in a significant way with that 30%. But it's kudos to progress as well that we are now able to aggregate male, female, age, and all of those things, which if you remember, it used to be some of the things that we were calling for. That there needs to be, we need to be able to know who is doing what, sex and all of that. So for me, it's important. But we are not telling the viewers that whereas there are more women that have registered, there are no women contestants
on the ballot, which
today.
Is very key.
We have one.
Out of 15.
Out of 15,
there is one.
There's a one governorship.
Yes.
Oh no, that's incredible.
And it's encouraging.
A place to start. No. I think we should leave tokenism. We should be able to leave tokenism out and go for the real thing. It calls for the political parties to reevaluate their leadership recruitment process in a way that it can be inclusive. Not just inclusive of women, inclusive of young people, inclusive of people living with disabilities.
Now, what he just said now just made me to say, look, probably there should be a recommendation to INEC in the sense that maybe there should be a portal to update my information. For instance, there are people that registered in 2018 while they were in school. Now they are no longer, they are civil servants, but probably their data will still be reading students and they may not even, so maybe that can also begin to put nuance into this thing.
We have a register that people come in but nobody goes out. Unfortunately, our register takes in people but nobody goes out. When people pass, when people move away, they still are in the register. We talk about cleanups and all the rest of them, but the nature of our politics also makes it difficult for that transitioning that needs to happen, because the voter register cannot just be receiving people, it should also tell us when people have exited it.
And talking about the aggregation or the alignment or the numbers of voters per profile of how they stand in the society, students, about 30% of them. There are about 15 registered known universities in Osun State. Out of that, we have about 10 of them that are private universities. We have 3 of them that are federal universities. There is Junior Osun, there is Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife. You have Bowen University. You have Adeleke University.
Fountain.
These are universities that a notable university in the private university league. This means one thing, and like I said yesterday, the students are in session. In your mind, you imagine that if we have the students are more on the register of voters, could we see more of them come out because they are in school, and there's a possibility that they just stroll and vote. Do you think that the Gen Zs have that zeal to care about who becomes the governor of this state?
Well, I always have a challenge with the bifurcation that happens around whether there is no homogeneous Gen Z. Gen Z is not a homogeneous category. There are Gen Zs who want to vote, who understand patriotism, who understand value for the vote. For instance, in Ife, in Obafemi Awolowo University, there are polling units there. They will come out. It's not about, and Ife has very high political consciousness.
Because if you go by what you see on the road here, once they lock down the road, you know what the young people do with the road?
They play football.
But we didn't see them.
And guess what?
I know where they play. I don't want to talk about where they play.
Guess what will happen? We need to encourage them to come out.
No, what I'm saying
the attitude usually is one that is not encouraging. Guess what? Someone did an analysis and saw the usage of internet and saw that Netflix is more used on the day of election in the hour of election, and the encouragement we should give to the young people is that leave Netflix, leave the football, leave the television, come out and
in Irekodun. How many young people are on Netflix? We need to. You see, the urban youth cannot become the majority, the total reflection of and representation of young people. Our people, the energetic young people doing stuff, are also in the communities, and they control. And for election purposes, you had better go and study it. The elections are in the communities.
Absolutely,
they are in the community,
in the locality.
Yes, if you take,
and that's why if you become a politician tomorrow, you first of all go to your village to convince them.
If you don't go to your village, you are wasting your time. You are wasting your time. We are talking to the young man who all his life does not even, some of them don't even know if election is going on right now. But if you go to the communities, serious mobilization is going on. The young people are out there, making sure that they want to take their destiny into their hands.
But just to say on a lighter note, that it seems they've listened to you.
Our advice,
and now they are under the shed.
The rain might come, and when it comes, it will pour. When it pours,
to disrupt the process,
everybody will get wet. You look at the figure. One thing that bothers me, and it's about the electoral violence situation that we saw. And in your data at Kimpat, you talked about 81 incidents which are election related, non-election related 31, fatalities 15 which are election related, and 34 non-election related. These are staggering figures. As far as the election is concerned, nobody should be injured, no blood should be there. In fact, no little cut should happen to anyone. The ballot should be the center point. If any injury is going to happen, it should be on the ballot. When you are thumbprinting it, the effect should be on the ballot, not on the body of anyone, not on the lives of anyone. But what we've seen in Osun, or what we have seen in Osun, I hope no violence will be heard, no gunshot will be heard, no killing will be recorded in this election. But prior to this election, your data is saying that it's been a bloody one.
Absolutely. And one interesting thing about that data is that for the first time since 2014, and then for the first time from Anambra 2021 election, this is the first time that election violence will overtake non-election violence. And it's something we should be worried about, because when you look at non-election violence, those normal criminality and all those stuff, they are always more than election violence. But in Osun, you now have a situation where election-related violence here now supersede that of non-election violence, and that takes us back to what that insight he gave the other time, that the stakes in this election is high and the interest is now high. So that's number one. Number two is that it also shows us that one of the things we saw is that the figure were increasing as we move closer to the election. So you see, shooting. In fact, you have 7 major incidents that people died immediately after peace accord was signed. So that tells you that, look, it's something we should be worried about. And I am happy that with the level of deployment we have also seen here. So on the day of election, today, I expect that the security agencies will be on top of their game, and that everything will be under control, which I believe is likely going to be peaceful today. However, I still have my concern, but we are expecting a peaceful election today.
So if you look at that data, it started growing from October. It went 1 in October, 1 in November, none in December. In January, it went up 7. February, it went low. March, it went higher. In April, it went up. And we saw a spike very close to the election. 20 in June, 17 in July, 15 in August.
So this data, as important as it is, but he can also take a peek into the past. On election day, there are no violence.
Hopefully not.
No,
you hope not.
No, because you have to look at it. The guns are silent on election day. Why is it so?
Not in Osun.
On election
historically,
hold on. I'll tell you what has changed. You need to shoot gun to carry the ballot. When we used to have ballot box snatching. Today, if you snatch the ballot, you carry the ballot box, you have undone your own principal. Your principal will be the loser for it. Because today you want the people to come out and vote. If the people don't come out and vote, you can't do anything. So that's why there is vote buying. So the concentration is, let us have it. Today is our day. Let us do everything to make sure that the people themselves come out. And there's a psychology to this thing. Every time these figures come out, it impacts turnout as well. Because somebody listening to us will simply say, they are killing people, there is no need for me to go there. But this message is important. Today, Ekiti, everywhere that I've gone in the course of election day, I'm not talking about pre-election, post-election, but on E-day, whatever happens is very minimal, because all the competitors are out there making sure that they can get the overhand.
So now, Ezewa, where the areas that will bother me,
yes,
and based on what we have seen,
I want you to keep your border to yourself for today.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But look, it's good that we work on data. The only thing that you can work is the fact election day data. We are watching
election day.
Why we are doing this is to also encourage people to say, do not allow yourself to be used. If people know that people have been killed, and they know that they have a sense of the figures and the incident and the report, they know that they shouldn't allow it to happen. And that's why they need to watch out for places like Elisha East, Elisha West, Oduotin, Ede South. These are areas that have recorded incidents in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, for instance, it is in Elisha that senator made that statement. Of course, you interviewed him. Now, after that statement, do you know 2 people were shot dead after that statement he has made? So what it means is that, look, something happened in the last 2 weeks in Osun State, and that alone it calls for worry. And I'm happy that based on what has happened, the police knew about this, the security agency knew about this, they step up their deployment, which is a very good thing. You see, Osun State is dynamic in a way that, look, when you look at the competition, because you cannot just go and be beating drum and say, look, everything is is normal. Now, but again, what is violence? Violence is not limited to shooting alone. You know, intimidation, harassment, all of these things makes what is called violence. And what is one of the things again we have seen, if you draw the pattern, is that you need to know that the end product of violence that you see, the intimidation, the harassment, for instance, when somebody says, look, if you see them, kill them, now that is a statement of intimidation. But what I am trying to say is that the end result is people are afraid, they don't want to come out, or when you hear somebody died here, the end result is that, oh, they don't want to come out. And most of these things are also impacting turnout. And that is why when you bring out the data, security agency, every other person use the data to say, look, this is where things are happening, this should inform our deployment and reinforce confidence in people to come out.
I want to encourage every Osun voter to go out and vote. This is a message,
go out.
Wherever you're watching, today, this morning, this hour, take our word for it. It's safe out here, as far as you can see. We are not in any house under any roof. It is safe. Go, don't let anyone intimidate you. Your vote will count. Stand by your vote. Stay with your ballot. Look at it, watch it, ensure that it is counted. Ensure that they take it to capture it with a beavers machine and upload on IRF. It's your responsibility. All of the sounds of war, the gunshots, they will calm down today. Your vote will count. I'm sounding like a preacher already. But I'm begging you, leave your house right now and start coming out, wherever you may be. Come out.
This is what I wanted you to do. Data is important, no doubt about that. But data can also scare. Data can become a scare, a very big scare. And what is at play in this election is the people. The people will have to come out to vote. And the more they come out, the more the violent entrepreneurs are scared themselves. Because if you come here and there are 1,000 people, you are likely going to find your way, because you know you won't. There's a political economy to mobilization. Ejibo, where is it again? There will be a lot of violence. So what then happens? You increase the number of mobilization. You know, and when you increase the number of mobilization, that has something to do. So let's play down that today. I mean, E-Day. That's anybody who wants to do data. Suddenly, give me data of what happens on E-Day.
I've gone to the theology. I've gone to theological school, and I preach it to anyone. Whenever, if you have any family member, just tell them you're watching China's television. Everything is fine. Everything is okay.
And that's true. And that's true. Where we are live at Aleku. So we are not in Lagos. We are not in Abuja. It's peaceful out here, and we are encouraging everybody. And the same thing that we have got from Malaysia everywhere.
Where they are is peaceful. Even where they are.
That's what I'm saying. That the information we have, again, from every other place is peaceful. I think people need to go out.
Just for a moment, because I will take you to Lagos. We will expand the conversation, but quickly, let me take you around this environment. If you don't believe, you can see me in flesh. I can touch everywhere. It's not AI. This is Bukola, not AI. But let me show you what is going on right here. You can see they are ready for you, wherever you may be. They are ready for you to cast your ballot. This young men and women, they have woken up, they've been trained to do this, and this is what they are here to do. So come out, they're ready. In the next 30 minutes, the ballot will open. And for whatever you may think, this is going to go well. And of course, wherever you are voting, this is a cubicle where you will cast your ballot. So if you are a first-time voter, it's an open, secret ballot system where you come here, you thumbprint, and you go drop it in the box. But there is one thing that is important: the number of security operatives that we see gives some sense of confidence about the security in the exercise. The transportation is, we've seen a lot of deployment, and look at them there. You first of all go there where the register is, you check for your name, then you go there to go and queue up. Of course, a lot will be happening in the coming hours and minutes leading up to this election. It's going to be a very interesting one. Eyes are on this election. It's the last election, off-cycle election, before the main one. Before I go to Lagos, my colleague Eyitope Kuteyi has been covering some areas for us. Let us hear Eyitope Kuteyi. What is the situation where you are right now, Eyitope?
It's the D-Day of the Osun State governorship election, and after 3 months of intensive campaign by political parties, today voters will decide their fate as they cast their ballots at the polling booths to choose who will lead them in the next 4 years. I'm at Unit Forward 5 in Okefia in Osogbo, local government area of Osun State, and behind me, security operatives. This is a polling unit, and security operatives are already on the ground with election officials and electoral materials to ensure that this election starts by 8:30 according to electoral laws. And we recall that INEC told me yesterday that they will be at the polling units early enough waiting for voters, and I think they're keeping to their words. And if you can see by my right hand side here, the election officials are already pasting the names of voters on the wall, preparing to commence this election this morning. We're on ground to bring you up to speed with everything happening around this election across the 30 local government areas of Osun State. It's back to you in Lagos.
Quite an interesting conversation, Kelly, with Mr. Zenwa as well as Ido of Impact Development Initiative, trying to look at all sides as far as this election is concerned. It's our continued coverage of Osun State governorship election taking place today across the 30 local government areas. Understand about 3,763 polling units in the 332 wards of that state. It's decision day. Over 10 candidates, because some have been coming on and endorsing other candidates. So a decision day for them. But of interest to me is the analysis of voter turnout. You know, the numbers have actually increased from 1999. Additional almost 1 million plus or so, about 1 million plus people, between 800 to 1 million additional voters have been added to the voter register. But we've seen an oscillation, if you will, of the voter turnout. At some point it was 50-something, 30-something, 30-something percent, 50-something percent. It came down to 40-something percent and decelerated by a few percentage. Now we have our guest in the studio who will help us also break things down for us right here. Well, it's our regular guest whenever elections come, because you need security experts, you need lawyers, you need everybody on ground to watch the ballot. We'll have Sichu, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Senior advocate, thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
You know, I'm sure you want to piggyback on some of the things that have been said by the analyst with shown on the field there. But in addition to that, as a senior advocate, as a lawyer, what do you look out for on a day like this?
Well, in summary, my view is that the credibility of this poll will be determined or measured not just by the absence of violence, but whether the result that will eventually be announced at Osogbo will reflect what was recorded at the polling unit. In other words, Nigerians look forward to Osun State to, show to the rest of the world that the votes of every Osun voter will count, devoid of intimidation, devoid of violence, and that whoever emerges from this process will truly reflect the will of the Osun people. The entire world is watching. So all the stakeholders involved in this process must be conscious of the verdict of history. Everybody, INEC, security agencies, and all those who are connected with this process must demonstrate neutrality and objectivity, because the destiny of the Osun people is at stake. And particularly the political elite must demonstrate that what we are practicing is democracy, and they themselves are prepared to reflect the virtues of democrats. If you're a Democrat, then you must be interested in a free, fair, and credible poll. If you're a Democrat, you must recognize the need to respect citizens' rights in choosing their leaders. If you're a Democrat, then you must not deploy violence or kill anyone because you want to access political power. So in other words, in Osun, what we are looking for at the end of the day is a reflection of genuine democracy. We don't want kill and go democracy. We don't want over-militarization of the process in such a way that a lot of people will be disenfranchised from exercising their civil rights. So the entire, and then we don't want to see breakdown, communication failure. Communication failure. We don't want to see, transmission. Electronic transmission of results to IRM in real time, as prescribed by the Electoral Act, must happen. We must see it clearly. Nigerians must be able to show to the rest of the world that we are civilized and that we are ready for a free, fair, credible poll. I don't want to see any killings. I don't want to see violence. I don't want to see manipulation of the will of the people. We don't want these results. Results to be doctored. We don't want vote buying.
Excellent.
And all of that. We don't want a free, fair, and credible poll.
I'm sure that's what many Nigerians want who are also residents in Osun State. Whether or not we can have that in the coming hours will determine. But I'm sure some of your colleagues will be waiting and hoping that, how some of your colleagues prefer that this ends at the court. We hope that it doesn't. We get to that level where our democracy...
Let me correct you.
Okay, sir.
If you're a lawyer, what's your sword? Then you should be more concerned with elections being determined by the ballot. When you see elections being resolved in course of law, it's an anomaly. And a lawyer must be interested in we're not happy when people come and consult us to go to court.
I would have told you
the kind of lawyer you are.
Yeah, I would have told you the question, but I'm told that we have our correspondent, Emperor Simon, who has joined us live again from Osun State. Emperor, perhaps you can walk us through your exact location and I must say you are somewhere around CAC Grammar School. Emperor Simon, what's the atmosphere like where you are?
It's election day in Osun State, and we are at the CAC Grammar School Araromi here in Osogbo town, where electoral materials are being distributed to polling officers, and from here they are expected to proceed to their various polling units located within Osogbo town. As you can see behind me, the ad hoc staff, who are majorly core members, have taken possession of their items, and from here they will move to their various polling units. Now I understand that each team is made up of a polling officer, a polling assistant officer, and it's a team, and they're expected to discharge their responsibilities. They have boxes that are meant to serve as ballot boxes. They have bags with them. They also have reflective jackets. These are equipment or items that are necessary for them to operate effectively. You can also see just here there are security personnel that have been detailed already. They are to proceed alongside with the polling officers to provide enough security for the election exercise. And from here now, they will be going. They are ready to deliver the election for today. So we will be monitoring, and we will bring you everything you need to know. From here, of course, the exercise continues at the polling units. I am Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Well, of course, one Emperor Simon there giving us live updates from the CSA Grammar School in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. If there are questions, this is 8:15, and the police are just about leaving. I wonder perhaps if that is going to have an impact negatively on the polls, because it's 8:15. The elections are supposed to commence officially, I think, at 8:30 a.m. So less than 15 minutes away, and they are only just about leaving. Senior Advocate, I wonder if this is a big concern for you. I don't want us to go over this over and over again. This issue of logistics, it's a big concern. It's just one state, Osun State.
I think we should proceed with a sense of optimism. I think we should be very positive about what is going to happen. I think given the level of preparations INEC has undertaken for this election, and given how everybody now know how important this election is, a major test, not only for INEC but for democracy. I want to believe that everything will go as planned. Let's invest faith in the process, invest faith in INEC, invest faith that all the stakeholders who are involved in this process will put the country first.
All right. We'll come back and speak with you, but I understand that my colleague Kayla, who is live for us at our Abuja studios, also have some questions for you, SAN. Kayla.
Indeed, Mr. Shitu, I just want to get your thoughts. You just said right now that we should invest faith in the process, and we want to, as the Nigerian people, we really do want to invest faith in the process. And you saw us there with that call from Okinbaloye right there in Osogbo, and the call that we're making here. Everyone who's watching right now, Okinbaloye says that we are not AI, they are not AI, they are on the field. Come out, everybody come out. We've got just about a few minutes before the elections begin. Come out and vote. But Mr. Shitu, just so you can talk to us a bit about some of the issues that have come up, voter apathy and vote buying, those two issues seem to be hanging, and we're watching to see how today unfolds, really, to see if we experience all of that. What do you think can turn this tide around? Because, like I said earlier, this is bizarre, but it has somehow become the norm. That we would have vote buying, we would have violence, we would have voter apathy. What can be done in your view?
Well, I think we need to invest more in voter education. I I think the way the actors, the political elite across political parties, the way they are carrying on, they perhaps do not fully appreciate the fundamentals of the democratic tradition. Well, it is one thing to say we are practicing democracy. It's another thing to resolve, by the political actors to resolve to be Democrats. If you make a conscious decision to be a Democrat, then you must have respect for the rule of law. You must have respect for fundamental rights. You must have zero tolerance for corruption. And then you must, key into a free, fair, and credible poll. Now, if you have all of these attributes as essential to being a Democrat, then you will not be involved in vote buying. You will not induce voters to come and vote for you. You will follow the prescriptions of the rule of law. I mean, the Electoral Act, in all your dealings. So I think political education is, and the INEC, far from, beyond conducting elections, must focus on this area moving forward. Political education. Political parties too must key into the philosophy of political education. People must be sensitized about what the democracy is actually all about and what is required of the political actors. So otherwise, and the question is attitude. It boils down to attitude. Attitude is everything. And attitude is a reflection of values. So we need to go back to the drawing board and invest more in political education if this trend is to stop. What we see off camera, behind the scene, is mostly subversion of democratic values by those who are supposed to lead the way and demonstrate to the rest of us that leadership by example.
Senior Advocate, we're going to come back to you on some questions about legal encumbrances because there are last-minute decision that causes, logistical issues for INEC to be able to deploy as how they plan. I'm going to do a comparison as what happened in Osun State with the political party with what has played out in the recent election and what can be done from the legal perspective to manage this better so that we don't have this last-minute addition of political parties when INEC has already done their work. But I understand Kumbi Aborade is already standing by for us. Kumbi, good morning.
The morning of the much anticipated governorship election here in Osun State. And where we are currently is in Okinbaloye local government area, Unit 4, Ward 10. And as you can see behind me, you see voters have actually found like a straight line and ready to exercise the civic responsibility of yes. However, we just saw that the INEC officials just arrived, let's say 60 seconds ago or 2 minutes thereabouts. And this is like a sharp contrast to what we saw in Ekpedore local government area, Area 1 ward, Abogunde primary school polling units, where the INEC officials had actually, started pasting registered voters, a list of registered voters on the wall. We even saw some voters who brought in their breakfast to the polling units to have it there. And they actually expressed enthusiasm to exercise this civic responsibility of theirs. However, we'll be keeping tabs on developments around local governments in Osun State and report back accordingly.
Thank you very much, Kumbi. Senior Advocate, so you can see in some places security agencies are being deployed, others they are already waiting to cast their ballot, so it's different stroke for different folks. But 8:30 the poll is supposed to open. But let's go back to that issue of logistical encumbrances caused by legal decision or judicial decision last minute. I remember in Ondo State, there was a particular political party that it was almost like 24 hours for the election, and the guy scored, I think, less than 5,000 votes, when the winner scored about 400,000. So what do we do to ensure that
all of the intricacies of internal party wranglings is sorted out in good time for INEC, because the Electoral Act is very clear, but somehow it just happens that we will come at the very eve or close to election, and then INEC starts running around to reprint ballot papers.
Well, there's no way we can forestall these kind of occurrences in a democracy that is evolving, such as ours, and where we have the element of vested interest playing out always. But what we can, advocate is that the system must be seen to be working. All institutions concerned with the electoral process must be seen to be working fairly and credibly. I mean, for instance, in a manner that will deliver fairness. I understand that that's part of the challenges that these institutions face. But what is important at the end of the day is that these institutions must work fairly and credibly to deliver a fair poll. That is what is important. You cannot prevent elements who are aggrieved from accessing the court. You can also not determine the timing for the conclusion of this process, because our institutions across levels are overwhelmed. So sometimes some people try to place the blame on the judiciary unfairly. They have limited, personnel. In terms of, we don't have we have a limited number of judges and all that. And there are other cases also competing for attention, apart from electoral disputes. So I think we need to commend the judiciary and then ensure that whenever some of these challenges, occur, we rise to meet those challenges. It is not that we will have no some of these challenges, but what is important is that at the end of the day, we deliver an outcome that is free and fair. It's not minor issues. You have minor issues, minor challenges. But overall, can you say that the process is free? Will you say the process is fair? Will you say the process is credible? So it is not that we don't have occasional issues like this that you such as you have mentioned. But what is important at the end of the day is to try to overcome these challenges and deliver a fair poll.
Listen, we're back to Osun State and live in Osun State, perhaps in 3 minutes or less, because the polls officially is going to open, and we'll show our viewers exactly when the residents there get to begin to vote officially. My question to you is, as those residents head to the polls, 1.9 million plus, I think it's 1.9 million, I think extra of maybe 6,000 or thereabout, as they head to the polls, in this area of the kind of politics that we practice, there's the tag of stomach infrastructure, there's the tag of how we have commercialized, monetized our politics. As they head to the polls, SCN, what essential and pivotal leadership questions should they be asking themselves as they get to vote?
I think they should exercise their right to vote based on their conscience. Now, as you go to the polls to cast your vote, you are going there to determine not only your future, but the future of your children. And so, whatever you do, you should be conscious of this consideration. And that you should know that beyond it is not temporary gain that will assuage your predicament, but long-time benefits to you, the community, and the developmental process is what is important. So I think what we can only do at this stage is to appeal to the conscience of every Osun voter to go and vote in line with performance. The person you are going to vote for, is he able to perform or deliver to your expectation? What we can do here is to appeal to them. And then again, all the authorities involved, including the security agencies, must allow this every voter to exercise his or her right unfettered, devoid of intimidation, devoid of threat, and that we should not institutionalize killings and thuggery in the process. So if the beauty of democracy is that you are able is the freedom of choice. Your right to be able to exercise or determine who you want to vote for unfettered based on your conscience. And I think if that plays out, then the democratic outcome will have been achieved. Because what democracy preaches is the freedom of choice. It's your right to be able to exercise your voting right without being intimidated or without being subjected to any kind of...
I want Killer to squeeze in a question before we get to Osun, because we're expecting Shehu to come in as soon as possible. But what you mentioned, I think even Section 78 of the Electoral Act reminds the politicians of Section 227 of the Constitution about arming people to arming people with weapons, to coerce people one way or the other is a criminal offense under our law, whatever you look at it. And Section 26 talks about INEC neutrality. So you've mentioned all of this. But Killer, I'm sure you have a question for the senior advocate before we jump in to meet Shehu where he is, because the polls are meant to have started. Voting is supposed to have commenced right now.
Indeed, it is 8:30 on the dot right now, 8:31 from the clock here in the studio, which means that voting has started in Osun State. We're looking at so many documents. Everybody's got a document or somewhat sent to us, and they're talking about key areas, key local government areas to look at: Oshogbo, Olonda, Ife Central, Ife East, Ife South, Iwo, Odotin, Ilesha East. All of these places in focus. The 30 local government areas also in focus. And before we get Shehu in to talk to us about the beginning of the voting, Mr. Shitu, just what your hopes are for the people of Osun State. It's been a very contentious exercise. How should the political class in Osun State be conducting themselves? The examples from that state have not been very... the examples haven't been something very flattering for them, but they have an opportunity to rebrand themselves. The people are about to speak and exercise their franchise. What are your hopes for this election?
Well, in spite of the negative signals coming from developments in Osun State in the past few days, I'm still very, very optimistic that at the end of the day, the Osun people will have a governor that reflects the will of the majority of the Osun people. I want to believe the process will be free, will be fair, will be credible, and then will be peaceful. I want to believe that there will be no killings. I don't want to hear of killings. There should be no loss of life because of the mandate of any politician. And then I want to believe that security agencies will be impartial and they will discharge their duties professionally. And I also want to believe that INEC will see this as a test to deliver a free and fair poll, and that the will of the Osun people will prevail, and that the governor that will emerge from this process will be a governor, that meets popularly elected by the majority of Osun people.
Senior Advocate, thank you. Let's get to Salvation Army Modern Primary School, where political editor Shehu Okinbaloye is standing by. The polls are for Shehu.
Yeah, officially, Geoffrey, the polls have opened. This is a milestone in this exercise. And this is a moment where I bring you up to speed and bring you directly and closer to the voting point, and you can see all of a sudden the population, we can see that people have now called here officially. Election process has begun. 8:30 is the commencement of the exercise, and so it gives you an understanding of what the exercise is looks like. The build-up to the voting process is a simultaneous voting and accreditation process that we have adopted in Nigeria, where once you get accredited, then you vote. Let me allow you to listen to the instructions being given by the ad hoc officials.
Then how many registered voters do we have there? So we have 914 papers here right now. You can commence the process.
You've done well with this. I saw. Yeah, next man.
So they are prioritizing the elderly. They are prioritizing the elderly, and now they've confirmed that the exercise can commence. So this is supposed to be done in an orderly manner and giving priority to the old, the elderly, those who are physically challenged, and of course looking at those who are also having some issues, maybe they're pregnant or something. These priorities are going to be given to them. But generally, I wanted to just have a sense and a feel of what the exercise looks like in the beginning. Okay? You are having an up-close front seat experience. You may not be at a polling unit. You may be far away out of Nigeria. You may be in any part of Nigeria, but you can get a sense of what this exercise is all about. So see how the very first person to get through this exercise, this process, here at the Salvation Army Primary School in Alekuwodo in Oshogbo, local government area of Osun State. Who will it be? Who will it be? Who will it be? It's going to be one of the elderly. They have their PVC in their hands, and they're ready to cast their ballot. I really would love you to see how these all get started. It's you can see the queue right here. The queue is getting longer, and you see it's been populated. People are coming in the numbers. I have almost 1,000 registered voters here in this polling unit. Just take a listen to how this is going to be done. So the first thing is they check through the register, checking through the register, and the details on the register has to tally with the details on the PVC. Then it's ticked. Then the man is now good to go. Yeah, that's it. It's good to go. It's been confirmed that he can go ahead with the next step. So and now he comes here and he needs to get the ballot paper. The ballot paper will be authorized by the ad hoc official. So once that is done, is able to then go and cast his ballot. So the beavers is going to be tested. Look at how the beavers is going to get tested. So there seems to be some issues in the authorization. So not until when you know for sure how this is going to pan out, because there are layers to these things. You've got to be able to confirm that the identity of the person in the PVC on the register rhymes with a record on the BVAS machine. You've got to see how this works, because this is what INEC says will be done, and we've got to see how it is going to be done. So it's been authorized, and the woman is good to go. The elderly, don't forget, are the priority to get started. So it's important for you to be able to see the BVAS. This is the early stage of the exercise, and it's critical for us to be able to see. All right, so let's see. The very first person in this polling unit to cast our ballot is this woman, and she's going to do right here. Our franchise she's got to do it right, because the important thing is that if you cast the ballot outside of the appropriate box, if it goes into another box, then it becomes an invalid vote. So it's very critical for you to see how this works. I'll allow you to see, and I guess she's done right now. She's done the thumb printing, and she's coming right here to get our paper, our ballot paper, right into the box. The very first ballot to be thumb printed and cast in the box. Oh yeah, hooray! She's got it done. The very first person to get this exercise through, and yet another elderly man who is going to get it done. So once this is done, I probably will let you see what the ballot paper looks like, so that you can understand for yourself, wherever you may be. You're watching Channels Television, you're home for the news. It's the continued coverage of the Osun governorship election 2026. This day, 15th August 2006. All right, he's going to get it done. Thumb print, he's checking it out. Let me show you what the ballot paper looks like. So for you, whatever, there are 15 political parties that are on the ballot paper. It means that the box across the logo is where the voter has to put the vote. If you put it across two, it's an invalid. If it is outside, it's an invalid. So it has to be in here. Voter education is very important, and so you can see along the alphabetical ordering of the political party, and that's what the ballot paper looks like. And so the elderly man is getting his done. So it's quite interesting. You are having a front row experience of what this exercise is all about. You can see the queue is getting longer by the minute, and it's getting more interesting. The elderly, the young, and those who matter in this exercise have come. So you have a sense of what this exercise is looking like, and of course it gives you an understanding of what this might look like. So we've seen the first set of people cast the ballot. Officially, the ballot has opened, Ezewa.
Yeah, and the vibe that you bring to it is the real timeness of capturing the voters, and that's what this thing is about. It's about seeing the power of the thumb, and how it determines who will govern the state for another 4 years. And absolutely, that's a festival for me.
Yeah, they say election is a festival of democracy.
It's a festival for me.
This is where the inclusivity of the average person is seen in a democracy.
What you bring to bear is the fun that comes from viewers at home being part of this.
Absolutely.
And enjoying the whole, and that's the mobilization.
Absolutely.
For even those of you that are at home that are yet to come out, you can see that voting has started, and people are in the queue, and it's just for now going on very seamless.
Absolutely. Bukola, look at it. All of a sudden, in the last 30 minutes, it was empty. But I tell you, if you are still watching at home, come and join. If you are a voter in this polling unit, quickly come. It has started. The festival has begun.
And you can see how excited the people are. You can't see tension here in the face of the people. And I think that is worth saying. And we can't say that enough. Come out and vote, because everything is peaceful. And then you see the first voter voting, and then everybody is I think happy. And the process also went well, at least with the first voter. And I think it's something commendable. And I want to say again, the money tells the day.
Absolutely. So, well, give us an understanding. Our viewers need to know the layer of the structure in an election process. You have the state as a constituency. You have the local government. You have the ward. You have the RAC. You have the polling unit. How does that work? Give us why does INEC need to layer the system in that manner?
Well, we run a district. You have a senatorial district. You have constituencies, and then so in that way you have to bring it down to the unit, which is the polling unit. So you vote at the polling unit, and when you vote at the polling unit, the ward is the center of all the polling units within that ward. Some wards are bigger than others, but all the aggregation of the results from those wards come to this, and then it is pushed again to the local government, and from the local government. So it's just patterned around our system, the kind of system that we run. But is it cumbersome? Is there something we can do about it to reduce? Maybe technology can help. That's where people are talking. But does anybody completely rely on technology? That's a question that only Okinbaloye can answer.
Look at what we're seeing here. A lot of people do not know the value of beavers in the mix. What the role of beavers and what it should be doing in the mix. So give us an understanding that there is a biometrics, there's a fingerprint, there's a record of the voter right in the memory of the beavers. Then it has to also accredit or confirm and authorize that the PVC machine is that of the owner.
So the beavers, of course, is one of the most important process or gadgets or equipment for this election, and it helps in accreditation. In fact, it's the beavers that accredit. Now, with the aid of the presiding officer or the election official, and this is how it works. So you check your name, and then you come with your card PVC, and when you come with your card PVC, you give it to the presiding officer or the election official, who look at it and then check now if the information on that PVC is also on the beavers, and then to now authenticate that, look, you are the owner of this thing, because your biometric, your fingerprints and your facials are already in that particular place, in that particular beaver. So what it does now is that, look, I confirm this card, I need to confirm that the holder of this card is also the person with that the information is on the beaver. So he asks you to thumbprint or you use your facial, and those two things are very unique, because nobody has your exact face, the coordinate of your face, and nobody has the exact fingerprint that you have. So when you can either use your fingerprint or your facials, and after that, and then the moment he take it and say you have been accredited, that means you are the owner and you are the true person that own that PVC, and you are the one in front of that election official. Then the ballot paper will now be issued for you to go and vote, and that is their process. That process is so important, so that, and you remember in those days where there was a time, and I know you will remember that time, that you have Mike Tyson on the ballot, on the registered voter, and all those people that you. But this now link you directly to the registered voter, which is is a very good innovation that we have seen.
Now, it does look like some of the candidates are voting quite early. The candidate of Accord Party and the incumbent governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, is voting in Ede. His arrival, you can see right there on the screen, the senator in his very fortified political home front of Ede. And those who say, historically, from his older brother, the late Senator Adeleke, and their dynasty, Adeleke dynasty, have held strong sway in Ede. And you wonder that quite early, and interesting that he's come out this early, wearing all clad in white and in the very significant Sherubawo hat. You remember how Sherubawo will don his hat when he was a senator until his death. And this is what I think is significant also, because Senator Adeleke, not only that they look alike, he has some semblance, and today coming out in Sherubawo kind of cap is always very interesting. So Senator Ademola Adeleke there casting his ballot in Ede.
Sherubawo means not in here now. It means absolutely
that was the alias of his senior brother.
Yes. So nobody is afraid of anybody anymore. What is important is that people should come out and cast their votes. And it's important, it resonates with the stake. When people come out early, it also inspires the supporters to say, okay, he has come out. And I'm sure that if we have the feed also, you will have seen other candidates also probably also coming out to vote. It's like we say, it's about the people today. Everybody in this election is a voter. And once you are a voter, the PVC is the equalizer. The governor does not have two PVCs. The candidates do not have two PVCs. Everybody has one PVC. You watching us right now, you have just one PVC. That's the power. That's what you have to make a change or to retain whatever you want to retain in this thing.
And actually it's interesting, because normally you will see those candidates coming out around 10, 11 to come and vote. I like that. Coming early, like you said, is still that confidence in people that look, I have voted, and then more people can actually come out to vote, and that is very instructive. And I think I like that, coming out early to vote.
And that shows the incremental progress that we have made. We didn't hear that the beavers didn't function, his fingerprints could not be captured, and all of those things. It means that something is sticking, something is shifting, the needle is shifting. Go out there, it doesn't take more than 2 minutes to cast your vote, and you can go back to whatever you're doing, or if you want to, you can stay around and see how the day pans out.
I hope that the other candidates, because they are also a force in making the earlier people come out, the quicker we can conclude the exercise, the earlier the sorting and the result collation can begin, and the earlier we know the winner. So once you come out, you and your supporters see that you have come out to vote, is also some kind of energizer to allow people to also come out early.
The investment should be in the process. At this point, what is important is that this goes seamlessly. Accreditation, the beavers is working, the presiding officers are doing their work professionally, the security agents are vigilant and ensuring that law and order is maintained within the precincts of voting. While all of that is going on, later on we'll be bothered about outcomes. Outcomes could go anyway, and what is important is that let the people of Osun State be the ones casting this vote and determining who governs them for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. Just before we get to the top of the hour, and we're returning to Lagos now, Bukola, what will be your final word in this round of our conversation in the opening of this election of a very critical one? It's critical because it's the last off-cycle election before the big one in 2027. And significantly, it's going to be the first time elections will be conducted in January since 1999.
Absolutely. And I think this is the first election also that we will be using downloadable PVC. Let me first of all say that this is the first election that this 2026 electoral act will be competitively put in use, and I think it's instructive. So whatever we are able to look at in Osun election, we'll be able to correct as we move into 2027 election. But of course, my admonition has not changed. It's still to the people: come out and vote, because even the turnout in Osun may also have an impact with the general election. But when people also know that Osun State, you set the pace, you come out, you achieve that higher number of voter turnout, and I think is everybody will be encouraged to come out in that election. It's still to tell the people to come out and vote.
Thank you, Bukola. Bukola's version is infectious. And I understand it perfectly. I understand it perfectly. He's talking about the first downloadable first. All of those things has to do with fun. Let us come out and vote, and let us vote in peace. Let us ensure that the environment is peaceful. The politician, the people are all from Osun State, and you are one family, really, if you understand it that way. Let's ensure that at the end of the day, we don't do anything that diminishes, the quality of citizenship in Osun State. Thank you very much.
Always good to have you.
Excited.
Doing this.
Thank you.
Partner in progress in this. Thank you so much, Ambukola. Many thanks for having you again right here. This is some sort like an oracle for us, because it's a place where we think that you need to start your day on an election day such as this. We right here on China Television, we're bringing you a commitment, a statement that we have you in our heart, and we have you in our plans ahead of the big election. This is just a litmus test to let you know that every point we are going to follow, every information, every data that is available will bring to you, and we make sense of the electoral process for you right here at the Salvation Army in Aleku Ward, one of the biggest racks in Oshogbo. Oshogbo being one of the biggest local government areas in terms of voting population in Osun State for these very critical elections right here. Of course, this is how we wrap it up. But just look at the queue. It's growing, it's growing, it's growing. And I'm asking, what about your interest in this exercise? We're signing off, and it's back to you in Lagos from all of us here. We'll see you in a short while.